when we talk about NTDs, we have to talk about the neglected communities at the heart of this struggle. And when you delve into that, when people talk about community cohesion, community engagement, and how to involve the people themselves in this struggle against these diseases, you have to analyze, you have to look at what makes up this community. When it comes to Africa, it's got one of the youngest populations in the world. We're talking about 400 million 15 to 35-year-olds present in Africa. And so what we wanted to do today is the first in a series of webinars that we're putting together called the Southern African Development Community. It's an intergovernmental organization headquartered in Gaborone, Botswana, and its goal is to further the socio-economic cooperation and integration, as well as political and security cooperation among 16 Southern African states. There's a youth parliament in all of those states, and coordinating all of that is the Southern Africa Youth Forum, which is the coordinating body, regional platform for youth and the youth organizations within the Southern African development community itself. It has a secretariat and a youth representative in the youth parliaments. And for us, it's a very inspiring and very engaging and a very powerful force that really is active in terms of this fight against NTDs. And so it's my great honor today to be joined by our special guests, Mr. Misheck Gondo. He's from the SADC Youth Forum. He's the regional coordinator, and he's going to be talking about the second SADC Youth Forum declaration and its recommendations on NTDs. How did NTDs enter into the Youth Parliament debate? Following Misheck's talk, there will be Miss Bora Kaumba. She's the co-chair of the SADC Youth Parliament across those 16 countries, and she's going to be speaking about the role of young people in fighting NTDs. And the last presentation will be by Mr. Maximillian Godwin. He's the head of the SADC Youth Taskforce on NTDs, and he's going to be unpacking the Youth Taskforce on NTDs, what it does, what it could do. And I'm sure we're going to be very interested in hearing from all three of our guests. I think that's enough from me. And I think it's time to hand over the floor to our first speaker, Mr. Misheck Gondo, from the SADC Youth Forum, the regional coordinator.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, especially for the young people from the SADC region to be able to deliberate about one of the very important issues, not only in the region, but in Africa as well, because it's an issue that deals with the life of people. I'm going to present briefly on the SADC Youth Forum itself, SAYoF-SADC, but with more focus on the second SADC Youth Forum declaration and its recommendations on neglected tropical diseases. Yes, we can move to the second slide. So as we as Southern Africa Youth Forum, like what we have actually said and alluded when you gave introduction, we are a regional body that coordinates young people in the SADC region. And as you have rightly said, SADC, we have 16 member countries, and those 16 member countries, they contribute to the development of the Southern Africa. And as a regional coordinating body for youth and youth organizations, we are also a representative of youth in the SADC CNGO, and we also work with the SADC Secretariat in our programs, the Secretariat at the heart of implementation of all the programs that are brought forward by the heads of states and government. And we work closely to make sure that we deliver young people's aspirations. And the issue of I highlighted about the country chapter, SAYoF, we are also a representative in the Africa Union, Africa Youth Front on coronavirus. This is a high-level platform set by the Africa Union itself to make sure that young people take lead. And SAYoF represents SADC in that committee for Africa Union, which is Africa Union Front for coronavirus, which is also we work with the Office of the Youth Envoy, Ms. Aya Chebi, and the Youth Division, among other regions in Africa. We are the Africa Focal Point Organization, again, in the United Nations Major Group for Children and Youth. So we are focal point specifically on migration issues, whereby we sit in the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, representing the region as well. But as I have alluded to before, we are the official convener of the SADC Youth Forum and the SADC Youth Parliament. And the SADC Youth Forum and the SADC Youth Parliament, they are convened before the heads of states and government meet. In SADC, the heads of state and government, they meet annually, usually in August. So before that, we meet and deliberate on young people's issues. We meet after consultation from countries, we meet and deliberate on key issues. And after those deliberations are submitted to the Secretariat and are also submitted to the heads of state and government, to the also to the Council of Ministers, which is the Council for Ministers of Youth, so that those issues are taken on board to influence policy. And this year, that's where also the issue of neglected tropical diseases they come in. You can move on to the next slide, Kaumba. So we sit in the Global Peace Coalition as well as a body. We have 10 thematic committees. These thematic committees, I'm happy that one of the co-chair for the committee, Miss Bora Kaumba, Kaumba, she's part of she's co-chair. The other co-chair is from Tanzania, Dixon Kamala. We also have Maximillian, who is part of the other committee, the health committee, and COVID-19 committee, the health committee, and now also leading now our task force. We are led by the regional executive committee, and currently the regional executive committee have got seven members, and the regional executive committee, they work with the regional secretariat, they work with also the country chapters, and we also work with different youth organizations in those countries through our chapters. We use what we call the youth development model when we are responding to youth issues. I'm not going to in detail about the youth development model. So, but that's a methodology that we also use in terms of implementing our programs. That is pro-youth, youth primacy, that value stakeholders like what we are doing currently to discuss the NTDs. We can move to the other slide. So, like what I have highlighted in terms of our work, we convene the SADC Youth Forum and SADC Youth Parliament annually, but what is important for today's discussion is one of the committees for the SADC Youth Forum was the Health Committee. And within this committee, they came with a very strong deliberation for young people in SADC to focus on neglected tropical diseases. And there was, when you are meeting, in 2020, the last SADC Youth Forum, the second SADC Youth Forum, we have around more than 2,500 young people convening and through these discussions, and we had about 120 committee members, and you can understand how it is very cumbersome, or how it is difficult to come with very few recommendations that can be adopted. And I'm very glad that the Health Committee, among other submissions that have been put forward by young people, they chose to make sure that we as young people have got a role to play with regard to the neglected tropical diseases. And it was one of the recommendations that that came to make sure that we have got a mechanism to make sure that young people in the SADC region will respond to the neglected tropical diseases. The young people and stakeholders deliberated and prioritized the key issues. As I have said, and this is one of the issues. We can move to the next slide. And we, as we take action, there were some recommendations that came out from the SADC Youth second SADC Youth Declaration. And I'm only going to focus on the recommendations which are focusing on the neglected tropical diseases and some of the actions points that we are going to take. And my other colleague will expand some of the points that I'm going to be sharing on this platform. There was a strong statement about in the SADC second SADC Youth Declaration, and we called the member states that they must be effectively comply with the new neglected tropical disease roadmap. And you understand that also prior to the launch of the roadmap, as the SADC Youth Forum, we had events that we did. Especially, we are proud that we also partnered with many institutions. And we responded to this, and we also issued our statement after the forum on what we are going to do and how best we can contribute to this global fight, because we are not treating this fight as a Africa fight. We are not treating this fight as a SADC fight. We are treating this fight as a global fight, whereby the stakeholders need to amalgamate. The stakeholders need to come together to make sure that we have zero issues about neglected tropical diseases, and especially anywhere in Africa or anywhere in SADC with regard to this. So there was a strong statement with regard to that. Also, the issue of SADC to take action to combat the neglected tropical diseases. So we are going to engage with our regional body to have a clear action plan. And I'm happy some of the countries already in their blueprints, which are called, especially the 5-year policy or the strategic plans for the countries, we are already seeing some indications that the countries are committed to put some budgets towards fighting this. So, but we are going to engage more, at the same time making sure that young people are involved. Also, the other point is we are going to have a clear framework to involve young people in SADC to fight against NTDs. And we are also going to be embracing what we call the stakeholder approach. Remember, when I started my presentation, I talked about the youth development model. One of the elements that is enshrined in the youth development model is the issue of partnerships. We've got what we call 7 Ps. So whatever that we do as young people in SADC, we value the partnerships, like the partnership we are having today, like other partnerships that we have with WHO and Africa Union. So we are saying we cannot achieve the aspirations and things that we need to deliver in the region without valuing sustainable partnerships, without involving young people as critical stakeholders and as primary subject, what we call young people primacy, and also valuing other people's contributions towards our development. So these are some of the recommendations. As you move to another slide, Cameron, these are some of the recommendations that were actually given with regard to the clear framework. So my last point of intervention before the last slide is just to touch a bit on what we have done on the post-forum engagement. When I'm talking to the post-forum engagement, I'm talking what have we done after the SADC Youth Second, allow us to just sit through a forum and make a recommendation and come back the other end, discuss. We are action-oriented in our approach. So what we have done is just after our forum in August, we went further to start some of the key points that came from different thematic committees. For example, from the health, one of the operationalization was to do with what we are going to do on neglected tropical diseases. So we have an operationalization of the forum outcomes, what we are going to do. So we also formed a SADC Youth Taskforce on NTDs that is being led by Maximillian, which is going to be a critical tool for all our programs and what we are going, our engagements with member states, our engagement with ministers of health, our engagement with partners, and different things. I'm not going to say much here because Maximillian will unpack this. Then we also, like what I've alluded to, we hosted events towards the launch of the NTDs roadmap, And we celebrated also the Global Day, NTDs Global Day, where we were also part of the programs that was being done by different partners, including World Health Organization. And we also, on our, we are young people, so on our social media as well, we ran a campaign where young people were talking from different countries about their aspirations in terms of the fight against the NTDs. And my last point on post-forum engagements, we had a stakeholder engagement, and we had actually a very fruitful engagement with ISNTD, International Society for Neglected Tropical Diseases. And the outcome of this engagement is we are here today on this platform for International Society for Neglected Tropical Diseases. Because of our approach to stakeholder, we cannot do it alone. And we engaged we engaged other young people that are from Africa and outside that have got the same zeal to fight this disease. Let's go to the last slide. I have to conclude by saying that at SADC Youth Forum, we have the commitment to partner with different stakeholders across the continent, across the globe, to make sure that we have zero issues of NTDs. We also have achievements with regard to the roadmap that we have learned, and also the young people, we are ready in terms of engagement with both the government, the region, the stakeholders, and everyone else. And definitely we are available. You can contact us, but we are available to work together as enshrined in the youth development model. Thank you very much. Let me return back to Cameron, and thank you for this opportunity, our viewers and all the respected delegates that are going to be that are part of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Misheck. It really struck us in terms of how robust your engagement, your plan of engagement was, the detail to attention in terms of bringing 16 countries' youth parliaments together and harnessing the force that is the youth, the future of Africa. It's fascinating and very inspiring, and we felt that having this kind of partnership with you, this is the first in a series of webinars over the next few months, which are really going to unpack some of the issues that you're facing and try and catalyze those sustainable partnerships that you alluded to. I think we've just got Bora back, Ms. Bora Kaumba, who's the co-chair for the SADC Youth Parliament, and she's going to be talking about the role of young people in fighting NTDs.
Okay, thank you, Kamran. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure for me to be here. So you will excuse me because my English is not so good, but I will make this presentation in English. When they asked me to talk about the role of the young people in fighting neglected tropical disease, I've asked myself too much questions, and I think that you ask also yourself a lot of questions. But defining the role of youth in fighting neglected tropical disease means to ask yourself individually some question like, why do I have to be involved in ending NTDs? How am I going to engage myself in ending NTDs? Will my action have an impact on people's lives? So, the sixth aspiration of the Africa We Want agenda is to build an Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. All the citizens of Africa will be actively involved in the decision-making in all aspects. So, as you know, Africa has the youngest population in the world, with more than 4,000 million young people aged between 15 to 35 years. And this number represents the power of the Africa, the power of our continent. This demographic represents a substantial benefit than because we have the biggest group of our continent, which making us an influential part of any population. Young people are highly connected to peers, and we can exchange with other people about about NTDs easily, because we are connected and we can share easily the information. So for the second question, I've asked myself, how am I going to engage myself in NTDs? And I also want you to ask yourself individually, how are you going to engage yourself in ending NTDs? I always told people that we have to start with what you have in your hands. You don't have to get an NGO to make an action. You can use your knowledge. You can use social media. You can engage. If you have an NGO, you can engage your NGO in this work, or you can make advocacy, or you can just bring your energy to end this disease. And we have to think and rethink about the ways which can contribute to reach this goal. So for the last question, I've also asked myself, will my actions have an impact on people's lives? I've had this question because sometimes we don't trust in ourselves. We don't trust in the capacity we have to change the world with just a small action. And I really love when the AU Bineta Job say in some meetings, I believe in you, I believe in young people, I believe in the capacity you have to change your world. And I want to tell you that when you tell yourself that you can't do something and you don't have capacities or you don't have possibility to end NTDs, just remind yourself that 3 billion people are at risk globally. 1.6 billion people are already suffering from those diseases, at least one neglected tropical disease globally. And there is always death. There will be death if those people are not treated annually. And that's why I ask people, and I am calling all of you to engage yourself. It's really, really important. Like you have engaged yourself to end COVID-19, to fight for the end of COVID-19. We have also to fight for neglected tropical disease. And I want to finish with that sentence: Africa must unite in order to realize its renaissance. Present generation are confident that destiny of Africa is in their hands and that they must act now to shape the future they want. So I call everyone to fight for it, because we have to build the Africa we want without neglected tropical disease. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Bora, for that. Very, how to put this, inspirational to see and read that presentation in terms of the destiny, the future of Africa being in the hands of the youth. We all certainly believe in all of you, but that's irrelevant in a way. It's yourselves that have to believe in what you're doing, and I think that's very evident in the way that you're engaging. I think I want to pick up on some of this digital innovation that you mentioned in your presentation at the Q&A. Some of those practical kind of steps to practical realities around that. We just had a drug discovery, development, and diagnostics meeting about a month ago, and one of the sessions there was digital diagnostics for Africa, and it was very interesting to see the kind of entrepreneurs and people involved in that particular sector aligning themselves with their digital skills to the kind of diagnostics world. So a very interesting development there. So I'm sure we'll pick up on that. But thank you very, very much for that presentation, Bora. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Kaumba.
And I can see how you're kind of really engaging with people there. I think that brings us very nicely to that last speaker, which is Mr. Maximillian Godwin. He's the head of the SADC Youth Taskforce on NTDs. As we heard from Misheck earlier, it's a a very vital part of their engagement within NTDs. And I think you've been set up by Misheck as quite a critical and vital part. And for those of you who don't know Max, we were very honored to have an ISNTD Connect session with Max earlier in the year, because Maximillian was, we were engaging with Max for some dengue awareness work that he was carrying out in various schools in southern Tanzania as part of our World Dengue Day awareness campaign, where we've been asking, the ISNTD have been asking for a dedicated development day, the World Dengue Day, to galvanize all of the various working groups around the world against the fight for dengue. And Max had been going into schools. That particular session and his work are already up on our website. But I think now's a good time to hand over to Max to talk about this SADC Youth Task Force on NTDs. Max, should I just start your presentation? Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant. There we go. Yeah, it's there now.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Kamran, and thank you so much, the International Society of Neglected Tropical Disease. This is the second time that I'm having this chance. Last time it was last year in July, I think, when you took me in to talk about youth engagement on NTDs. And I'm glad that at that time also I got a chance to join the SADC, SADC Youth Health Committee, where, as we have said, one of our resolution was that member states should adopt the new NTD roadmap so that to increase the focus of these NTDs in countries, member states. Now, I want every one of us to understand the Southern Africa Youth Forum is the regional platform for youth and youth organization within the SADC region. During the second Youth Forum Declaration 2020, among other resolutions, the young people led by the Able Health Committee called for member states to effectively comply to the new WHO NTDs roadmap. Now, 2021 is a very crucial year for NTDs. It has really been a momentous year for NTDs. I want you to know that it is within this 2021 that we have celebrated the launch of the new NTDs roadmap that happened in early of February. But again, on 28th, we had the launch. We celebrated a World NTD Day. Now, as I've said, that SADC Youth has taken NTDs a very crucial way. That's why we wanted to have a very special way to celebrate. That's why we wanted to have a special way to celebrate the World NTD Day, but in other words, to think and see how far we as youth can work. And we, as we were trying to show as we wanted to show our interest on this, we did the two things effectively. First thing we did a campaign. So we as SADC Youth did a special campaign that aimed to increase the awareness of NTDs in our communities, to our fellow youth, and to awaken our government responses on NTDs. But the second thing that we did was the press release. We did the press release so that to increase the awareness and the concentration of partner organizations and societies to see that we as SADC Youth have given this way. Now, how can you support us? And to this, I would like to thank the International Society of Neglected Tropical Disease for their concentration and taking it serious on to our thoughts. That's why the International Society of Neglected Tropical Disease has become our first partner to join us and support us. And as we are starting the Connect series today, we will have much and many more series in days to come, where we are going to highlight several NTDs aspects in our region. Now, I want to introduce to you now, talking on the SADC Youth Task Force. What is the SADC Youth Task Force? SADC Youth Task Force on NTDs is a group of young people under the SADC Youth Health Committee from all SADC member states assembled to address the neglected tropical diseases. So we have aimed to start this task force so as to assemble the ideas from our fellow youth across our region to address the issues regardless to neglected tropical diseases. So we want to increase the awareness We want to increase the concentration of youth to join the force, but we want to awake and help our governments to increase the concentration. Now, we have to focus now on the reason of forming a task force. Why have we decided to form this task force? The first thing is to highlight areas of NTDs that need the most and immediate attention. You know, talking of NTDs, we are talking of 20 neglected tropical diseases. So having a task force, will help us realize what are the most and immediate places that we may increase our attention. For example, dengue has been a very deadly disease nowadays, and it really affects many countries in Africa. Now, having a task force will cite that currently in this country, dengue is the problem. In this country, Guinea worm is the problem. In this country, elephantiasis is the problem. So our task force will be specific, will focus specifically to highlight where exactly we need to increase an immediate attention. But the second thing is to increase the health committee focus on NTDs. Our health committee focuses on general health aspects, COVID-19 and the rest regarding health. But having the task force help to concentrate the health committee's efforts on NTDs. So having this task force increase the efforts of our health committee to fight NTDs. But the third thing is increasing efficiency of combating NTDs. We want to increase the efficiency of combating NTDs. Having our health committee does not guarantee the efficiency because it gives us a wide range to move here, to talk about this, to talk about NCDs, to talk about whatever. But having a special task force that answers, that seeks for more information, that seeks to advocate for NTDs, gives us a motive to increase the efficiency of combating NTDs. But number three, the chance to concentrate on major areas of interest. You know, in our health committee, it includes different people with different interests. Now, we as the health committee, we have come up with this task force, and it will include all those who are just passionate. Not just because you're a member of our health committee, you'll be entitled to in a team of entities. No, we want members of health committees who have that passion and interest to fight entities. On our focus, our task force will be a multi-sector, considering the following. So we want to have a special task force that is a multi-sector, considering the following. First, because we need support. Now, if our task force is a multi-sector, gives an opportunity to get support from several stakeholders. Our task force will be a multi-sector, considering that we want many more stakeholders' involvement in fighting entities. We as the task force cannot. The government cannot themselves. So we need this task force to be multi-sector to provide a playing ground for many stakeholders' involvement. But the third thing is high information spread. Having a task force that is multi-sector, it provides a new way where our information about entities can highly spread. Because if we do at our own at the task force, and the rest stakeholders take their time to speak or to advocate about entities, we are pretty sure that our information will highly spread. But number three is community cooperation. We need our task force to have that community cooperation effectively. Now, if we are having a community cooperation, that means our intention will easily reach the community. We want our information to reach the community. We want to reach the community in a better way where they can understand our concept about entities. Now, having several stakeholders that we are in several sectors gives an opportunity for the community to receive information about entities in several and different ways. But the last thing is involve people's decisions. Having a multi-sector task force provides an opportunity for us to see and hear what the community can suggest, what other stakeholders can suggest. And if we are having different knowledge, it can help us to improve our decisions on better ways to combat NTDs. Now, what our task force will involve. Now we need to understand what our task force will involve. The first thing, we need to involve individuals directly affected by NTDs. We need to involve directly people who are affected by NTDs. People who are affected by NTDs have a better way to tell us what exactly the NTDs means. You know, neglected tropical diseases, to me and to the sense of our task force, it bases on the neglected people with these diseases. Now, involving them shows that we end the neglect we have been causing to them, we have been giving them. The second thing is proactive, passionate, and interested youth. We really need proactive youth leaders. We need to have passionate and interested youth leaders who are ready to understand, to learn, and to increase their energy in fighting the NTDs. But our task force will involve those working with the affected entities. Sometimes we may fail to get the affected entities, but we may work with those who are directed, we may now work with those who have stayed, or with those who are working with those who are affected by entities. For example, the healthcare workers. The healthcare workers are dealing with the entities patients. So working with them or involving them will help us in our task force. But the other thing is government officials. Of course, we need government officials to help us in this. Government officials will help us in policy changes, policy implementations, like improved water and sanitation and wherever. But the other issue is partner organizations, as it has now for the International Society of Neglected Tropical Diseases. So we really thank you guys for showing us a way, and we are happy that through partner organization, like today, our conversation today reached thousands of people. Now these thousands of people gets to understand what are the NTDs, and this is what we want. And the other issue and other group of people that we will involve are other stakeholders like member states, and as we have said, the partner organization. And our task force looks to involve the following: business leaders. We need the business leaders who can help us to allocate the resources. But we need clergy and faith leaders. As we all know that these people tend to listen to their faith leaders sometimes. So we need their involvement so that they can help us on advocating for these diseases in their community. But we need people with high standing in their community. There are famous people in our communities. These people will help us on advocating because they have got a massive followers. But we need people who have access to money. You know, these activities sometimes needs money on advocating, needs money on allocating these massive drugs and whatever. So we need resources and money actually, so that we can disperse these resources. But we need people who are who have power and convenience to the government, because if we get them, they can also help us to influence our campaigns in different ways. And the last group that we focus to involve are people with access to target population. So the targeted population currently is youth, because even in Africa, youth takes the large number of people, and youth have a massive influence in Africa. What is the expected engagement? We expect the engagement from youth, older adults, media, schools, as I have started a campaign and started the NTD clubs in schools, for example, in my region, where I get a chance to speak to the schools about NTDs and respectively Dengue, which is the project that I've been doing recently in most cases. But we will focus to the engagement from youth saving organizations, law enforcement agencies, civic and volunteer groups, state, local, and governmental agencies. Yes. Now, on my closing remarks, this is what I can say, that NTD-free generation is possible by 2030. So by this time, I'm sending a motivation to every one of us that we need to increase our concentration and hate NTDs. I remember I participated in a World NTD Day storytelling competition, and I'm glad that I was shortlisted. And I think I was shortlisted because of one thing I said, that we need to hate NTDs, because it is not the neglected tropical diseases. These are people these are neglected people with diseases. So if we hate the fact that our fellow citizens are neglected because they're having certain diseases, it will lose our concentration, our focus. And we now need to integrate resources so that by 2030, every country, any country in SADC member states is left behind. Now, focusing on the World Dengue Day campaign, this is one of talking on dengue, this is one of the deadly diseases right now, and it really affects many regions across the globe and in African countries as well. Now, I'm glad that our task force will also focus effectively on dengue and especially campaigning for the World Dengue Day. We really need a World Dengue Day so as to increase the concentration, concentrations and attention, and to pull attention of stakeholders to focus on dengue effectively. Now, I'm calling upon you to sign our petition that is provided in the SIN link, and we also share globally that we need a World Dengue Day. So please get in and sign for our petition through www.change.org. Search the World Dengue Day petition and sign there. We need to influence the UN, we need to influence the WHO so that to increase the concentration and fight against dengue diseases. And this and much more will increase the focus through our task force. Now, thank you for joining us, and I hope I'm ready for the questions or wherever, but I'm glad that you have been here with us and had a chance to listen from what I've prepared. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Maximillian, for that. A very engaging plan of action. Several points in there in terms of things that I'm sure we're going to pick up in the Q&A. If I could ask the other panelists, Misheck and Bora, to rejoin us for the panel discussion. So firstly, thank you very much for a wonderful overview of the kind of youth parliament effort in terms of SADC itself, and then how that's resulted in terms of this declaration to include NTDs, and then how that's then resulted in this formation of a very NTD specific task force headed by Max. I think it's a wonderful kind of journey to go through. Some of the questions that have come through already from the chats. So there's a question from Dr. Semu Adeni. He's asking, how do you stimulate the youth to be interested in NTDs? I'd like to ask a question just before that leads into that, which is, you mentioned that the second declaration, the second SADC Youth Forum declaration and its recommendations for NTDs, i.e. the thing that was taken up by the overall committee to act on NTDs. What is it about NTDs that really resonated with the youth? I'll ask you all that question. What is it about? You mentioned some of these kind of points in your presentation, but what is it? And then linking that to Dr. Edeni's question, how do you stimulate the youth? What is it about NTDs? And then how do you stimulate the youth to be interested in NTDs? I'd like to ask Bora that first, please.
So I can start by the second question, and I've responded in the chat, but I respond privately. I think that it's the question of Semu. Yeah. I gave him an example. I'm a trainer. I'm a trainer of children. In my country, for example, I've engaged children in this war, and they are making advocacy. they are making advocacy. I'm in Democratic Republic of the Congo, and I've trained those children about NTDs, and they are making advocacy. They are talking about NTDs to their peers, and what can I say? I'm watching the impact the children have to the community or in the families, and it's such a great impact. It's such a great impact.
Fantastic, great answer, Misheck. To you, the same question. I mean, what was it about NTDs that, in all the health kind of issues that are affecting the African continent, all of the various issues, what is it about NTDs that, in your opinion, allowed SADC to put that onto the declaration to kind of add into their to the health committee's work?
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. One of the things that is managed to, I will present in two parts. The first point is there's been the work that has been done by some of our young people that were part of the committees. So I want to single out Maximillian. He was part of the committees, and about 120 members from the committees were conscientized about this aspect. Then also there was some engagement on social media about it, and so there was interest from young people to say what really about this. And actually, young people, they realized that it is the disease that they are living with, but they didn't know how to advocate for those diseases, and they are affecting them. Some they are even become later disabled in life because of these diseases, but there was no a channel for advocates to speak out. So when this was brought, it was more like an agreement by everyone to say, for real, we have to deal with these issues. And also one thing that I realized is young people learn information about these diseases. The diseases affect them, but they don't know even maybe their names, but they just live with them in communities. They just live with them, affecting their lives. So that was another point in terms of young people. They say, for real, we can't be in this century and we still have the neglected tropical diseases. You know, what is also interesting is the link between the diseases and poverty, the link between the disease and neglection of other governments in terms of accountability. So, you know, that link with young people, it generated the interest to say, how best can we have clean water, for example, in other areas where there's no clean water that affect the young people in terms of this. So these advocates actually come in a harmonized way to say, we can fight this using other ways as well. It generated more interest, and everyone, even when the declaration was shared among to see these are issues, that one was not, there was no debate about it. So that's how also it came about.
That's a fantastic answer, Misheck. Thank you. From a kind of practical perspective, Maximillian, I mean, Stephen Bramia from Canada, who's joined the chat, he's involved in vector control as a consultancy out in Canada. He's mentioned something there which kind of links into this a little bit. He's saying, my interest in arthropods of medical importance started when I was a young lad. I am glad to see that SADC is involved in preparing future workers for NTDs. So I suppose adding that question to Senyu's question, your engagement with young people, how much of that is going to be through education at school level, going into schools and using what Misheck's just said, increasing the knowledge of NTDs? How much of your work, in terms of the operational work that you're doing, Max, will be in the educational kind of sphere?
Exactly. Thank you so much. You know, one thing that we really need to understand about NTDs, it is one thing that youth are in a position of being highly affected. So we as youth are in a position of being highly affected. So if we place in a position to fight these diseases, that means youth must be highly associated so that they may fight these diseases that highly affects them. But one thing that we really need to know, that we as youth, investing in our future is in our best interest. Now, we cannot invest in our future if our health is not proper. Now, analyzing that these all are diseases of poverty. So that means none of the youth wants to be poor. We all want to be rich. Yeah. How can you be rich? Diseases among you. So it gives you a change, a driving motive that we all need to fight that to come out from here. Yeah. But one thing that we have said is that as when we were doing the awareness during the World NTD, as we are heading for the World NTD Day, when we are doing the consultation media platforms, we had many people developing interest to understand. One thing that makes people concentrate on these diseases is that they do not know how far this disease impacts them. Yeah, yeah. They do not know the impact of these diseases. Now our work, Taskforce, through the educational system, is to remind the colleagues that these are the 20 neglected tropical diseases, and this is their impact in your daily life.
I think that's a very, very, I'll cut you this, it's a very interesting point you've raised, because obviously the WHO's roadmap to 2030 for NTDs, one of the major shifts in focus in terms of the report is that they're recommending that we all move from an action-based measure of success to an impact measure of success. So I was wondering what the role of how do you view, this is a question to both you, Misheck, and Bora, how do you view the role of the youth in conveying the impact of an intervention to fight disease? Any suggestions in social media? You mentioned digital kind of innovations, Bora, earlier. How do you feel the youth can engage?
I think in order to have an effective engagement from them, they first need to understand the NTDs. They really cannot engage to the fact that they do not know. Okay. So our focus at the task force now is to increase the knowledge of these diseases. And one of the focus is that as the campaign I was doing, I was getting to schools where students, kids learn, where places, where people go there for the purpose of learning. If we go and tell them, this is the NTDs, this is how they affect, it is from there, they may develop an interest, to engage in several ways. Yeah. This is the fight that not only require healthcare workers, some other people may use art. Yeah. They may use skills in art to convey the messages. So you may find that musicians speak of entities. You may find that actors act about entities. You may find politicians speak of entities. You may find TV presenters, radio presenters talk of entities because they understand. I think the core value is for people to understand and develop by themselves a way to engage.
That's a fantastic answer. In fact, Stephen Brahmi was also asking what aspect of SADC deals with the educational preparation of youth for NTDs. So would that be your task force, or is it something that's in terms of the education about these issues to the youth? Is that specifically the task force, or is that something that Misheck you would deal with, or Bora?
Actually, earlier we used our health committee, but after analyzing that we need to prioritize this angle of entities, now the task force will be responsible for that. The task force will be responsible.
Oh, that's okay. So the task force specifically. So that's a very good answer. Carlos Texeria from Mexico, who's joined us, he's asking us to get together young people from different countries and cultures. We need to find common ground issues. I think he's talking about joining the various youth movements. What have been your main difficulties about finding common ground?
Thank you very much for highlighting that. One of our strategies in the SADC Youth Forum is we dwell much on the concept of Pan-Africanism, and this concept there is an element which is also part which we call the Ubuntuism, and we try to make sure that we work together but in diversity, and this diversity is the ability to acknowledge that we come from different backgrounds, we come from different cultures, but we are harmonized through the concept that I've alluded to, the concept of Pan-Africanism. And we are also harmonized towards certain goals. For example, if you are talking of the right to education, everyone needs that right to education. If you are talking to the issue of right to health, everyone needs the right to health. So this is how also we came together to say, if we are talking of neglected tropical diseases, they affect every culture, whether you are from Zimbabwe, you are from DRC, you are from Comoros, you are from Botswana. Then how can we even bring that diversity together to fight the common enemy that is before us? So this is something that is harmonizing us. But also something that is very important is what we are also going to do, we are going to be including culture in terms of fighting NTDs. Different cultures exhibiting some traditional, but fighting it again. So bringing different people with different cultures, using like the other question you talked about, what mechanisms and tools or instruments we can use.
Yeah.
Culture and traditions can be used again to fight NTDs. From community level, they can do their practices, but also spreading information, maybe through theater and arts, maybe through speaking, maybe through poetry, maybe through gatherings at community level. So we are going to integrate this and bring it to attention of the SADC. So we are going to have interesting ways of spreading the message as well, using different cultures.
That's such a fantastic answer and so inclusive. I'm so happy you mentioned arts and culture to bring forward this message in terms of science communication. At the end of this month, the 24th and 25th of March, we'll be holding our 5th annual ISNTD Festival, which looks at exactly this, different communication modalities of film, theater, television, radio, apps, all of this. We give our prizes out right across the NTDs and global health, actually, and you're all more than welcome to come to that, to attend that. In fact, we should probably even speak with you. We should discuss after this the involvement of SADC at a cultural level, because this is about science communication. One of the questions I was going to ask really is about kind of positive role models. You mentioned this inclusive future. You mentioned, Max, Misheck just mentioned this kind of inclusive global, not just Pan-African, but a global kind of view, which is the excellent answer. Max, you mentioned this, from your operational perspective, a future, a brighter future to bring the youth in, that they buy into a brighter future, a more economically secure and, a future along those lines if we combat the disease. Some of the foundations around that to get to that point are positive role models, yeah? And sometimes when we see the narratives around global health in Africa, I personally don't sometimes see positive role models, or I think there's a gap there, that it's the lazy trope to show in a certain light. I'm not a great fan of that, especially after engaging with you guys. There's so much positivity and so much of a force moving forward that I think that needs to be harnessed. So I guess the question is, and this is a question that's covering role models and also strategic sustainable partnerships. We have a diasporic communities right across Europe, right across North America. So Ghanaians in South London, we've got a thriving Nigerian community. We've got a Somalian community. We've got Ethiopian community, some really good restaurants, Ethiopian restaurants that were open before lockdown. You get the injera and the shiro wat and everything there. Very thriving pockets of the diasporic communities. How would you imagine, you want multi-stakeholder partnerships, is there a possibility of kind of reaching out to the diasporic youth movements in North America, in Europe, to kind of align to this? And if so, how?
Actually, I think a better way where we can reach these diasporic communities is involving them. First, analyzing these communities. You know, with the fact that they are living on these diasporic countries, let's say America or wherever, they are lessly affected with NTDs. Yeah. That's the problem, I think, because they are living in countries where at least there is high development compared to us. Yeah. So I think the way is to associate them in ways where they can help us advance from where we are. Yeah. Like, what do they see a way where we can come out from these NTDs? But sometimes it look difficult because, you know, they are living in countries where these diseases are not likely to affect. Yeah. Though they maybe 1, 2, not compared to African countries or developing. You know, in developing countries, these diseases are likely to affect most. Yeah. Compared to those they are living. So I think associating them, because they're living in countries, is advancement in technology and so forth. So asking them in ways they can support us to come out from these diseases, like like funds. You know, they may support us through funds. They may support us through several resources. Yeah. That may help us to boost the state that we are. They may support us drugs, yeah, kind of thing. I think way.
That's a wonderful answer, and I just going on that for a second. I know that there's been a lot of talk in Africa. I mean, I wonder what those bridges are going to be made to. What type of which elements within the diasporic communities here could lend a hand. I know that very recently the UK rap artist Stormzy was out in Ghana in January at the UPP festival, where he released a new song with a Ghanaian artist called Yortog. It's like a #1 song out there. Perhaps that element, the diasporic music community, in terms of this arts and cultural bridge between Africa and Europe, could be used to start putting some message, because you're absolutely right. It's a case of out of sight, out of mind here when it comes to these diseases. It's something that affects the tropical regions or nothing here. But I think that case needs to be made, and I wonder who we can reach out to make that case in terms of, and have resonance with the youth in particular on both sides of the equation. So I think that's something to think about for the future, those type of partnerships. We had a comment here. There's a comment. I mean, firstly, Dr. Carlos Teixeira is from Brazil, not Mexico, I'd just like to say. Although he loves Mexico, he's from Brazil. Stephen Brahma is saying the diasporic Africans have to make the effort to contact organizations like SADC. He's saying that there's, and I absolutely agree. And that's exactly why we're having this partnership, to give you that exposure, because this is very inspirational here. I, in fact, think that you guys are the role models for the diasporic communities living in developed countries. You're doing fantastic work. It's quite amazing to see. And in fact, I think I view you as the actual role models, and that's the truth. So there's that. Dr. Monique Wasuna of the DNDI, one of the world's leading and most successful PDP program to make new therapeutics for NTDs, is saying, true, the future of Africa belongs to the youth. Congratulations on excellent presentations. So, and that's a statement there from Dr. Monique Wasuna. So well done, everybody there. The point was made there by Tendai Mafuka, when he was saying that great presentation. In order to include the youth, there is a need to engage them for capacity building processes, form groups, especially starting in your community. And he's running something called a free litter fighting NTDs in Zimbabwe. and he's observed environmental issues in which there's a rampant disposal of litter because of there's a not inadequate service delivery in terms of picking up rubbish, and he's engaging youth to host cleanup campaigns to fight the NTDs that result from litter, like sanitary ware, nappies, and other waste. And he's encouraging the communities there to clean their communities in that sense. So that's kind of something that's very interesting. Professor Hadrian Hopkins that's a great practical action. Advocacy is important, but the youth have to be involved in local levels with their peers, with the other youth in their communities. So, I mean, coming to that, are there any concrete plans for such activities moving forward? You know, do you have? We mentioned the World Dengue Day, and I know from our how to put it, engagement with you way earlier, about a year ago, Max, when you were going into the schools in southern Tanzania and raising awareness around vector distribution, vector ecology, and the symptoms and transmission of dengue. Are there other plans for other diseases? You mentioned lymphatic filariasis. Are there do you have other plans around that?
Yes, exactly. I'm still doing my follow-up, especially to the schools that I earlier visited. And what I've been telling them is to break the cycle. I told them like the cycle of dengue. And then I told them how to break the cycle at their school level, at their family level, and kind of things. And one thing I did is that I think through your support of the International Society of Neurological Disease, I was able to do a short course on vector-borne controls. So I'm pretty sure that now I'm much more advanced, and when I get to the schools, I have a new way to share with them how we can break these NTDs, vector-borne based diseases. So I think I've got a better new way, and I'm planning at the end of March, I will start again because it has been a rain season. So I'm getting back. It is a rain season, so I want to get back at the end of March to see if there's improvements of breaking the cycle of waterborne diseases. Yes,
that's fantastic. Max is referring to a digital course by the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, which he very successfully completed as a digital course, as it were, and got the certificate for it. So well done on that. So that's a fantastic result and a good answer. So my kind of coming to the last kind of question, what you all mentioned this this desire to have kind of like a multi-stakeholder engagement, to have different perspectives for a more robust kind of that could then result in more robust activity around NTDs. What would be your message to any NGO or academic group viewing this in terms of potential partnership with you guys? What would be your message to those people? I'll ask Misheck that first.
Thank you very much. I think my message to NGOs and different stakeholders, the first message is in whatever strategy that they are going to do, the inclusion of young people in terms of participation, not in terms of just as an end process, but when we are talking of inclusion at SADC level, we are talking of young people as leaders, young people as stakeholders, young people as stockholders, young people as game changers as well, as equal stakeholders. And also the issue of creating sustainable space, so that if you are talking of issues like NTDs, they can be able to bring the experiences, they can be able to innovate around the ideas, they can be able also to lead in terms of other engagement. But like what we say, our concept at the SADC level, at the SADC youth level, we say we value the stakeholder approach. We don't say young people have the answers. We have together, we have the answers. So this one bringing this idea, and even in terms of resource sharing, not talking of financial resources, but even technical resources, human resources, and among other resources. It's about sharing to make sure that we achieve that goal. So this is my message of sustainability, the message of inclusion, the message of working together, the message of using whatever tools that we have at a local level, but young people also as part of the stakeholders to deliver the mandate that is before us.
That is a fantastic answer. Misheck. Thank you. So inclusion, sharing, sustainability, fantastic. Max, what would be your kind of message to the NGOs, the academic groups outside of Africa looking to engage the youth of Africa?
Yes, thank you for the opportunities. And as you have said, we want our task force to be a multi-sector. We want several people from different sectors, from different NGOs, the governments, member states of SADC to support us. So as we have started today with the International Society for Neglected Tropical Diseases, we expect from more, like from Dr. Monica, Dr. Wasuna NGOs and other NGOs. Yeah. So far, we are grateful for the support you're having from your team and from the WHO NTD department and the guideship of Mama Mwele Malekela. So we expect for more. We want other organizations to understand that we are their fellow in fighting this, and we are not their opponents. So we really need the support. But one more thing that they need to know is that we as SADC youth, we are youth. So far, we do not understand many things. So we need to be taught, we need to be guided, we need to be supported.
That's
we need to be supported.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is a fantastic answer again. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
We need to be supported. We need to be supported so that at least we may achieve what we are longing for. And I'm pretty sure that our team is ready. So we just need for more support. Like as we are getting this NTD series, we expect for more. But we expect other organizations to support and facilitate us sometimes to reach several communities to implant that sense of hating the neglect of these diseases. That's all.
That's fantastic. I think Dr. Kim Cloetti is asking from, I believe, she's asking, well done to all. How do we contact you speakers? Please, could you give us contact emails? Yeah, so she's asking for that. So that's up to you guys. If you want to share your email there, I'd say yes, but that's up to you. So people are looking to contact you and engage with you. Just some last kind of messages here coming through. Dr. Carlos Texeria from Brazil. Congratulations for the nice presentations and discussions. Our hope is truly with the youth. Yeah, so brilliant. Stephen Bryan, my takeaway message is that diasporic Africans, so Africans out in Europe, North America, Canada, with expertise in NTDs, must form unions to be able to help. So kind of talking to the how to put it, that gap in organizational kind of frameworks, perhaps, in the diasporic communities, which kind of leads me to say, you guys are the role models. Sometimes we approach something and we think, oh, there are no role models, there's a lack of... You are the role models. You know, frankly, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. We were blown away when we first encountered all this through Max's work about a year ago in southern Tanzania. And we were really encouraged that all the way through. We had a great relationship built with Max, and then Misheck, and now Bora as well. So hats off to all of you. And this is the first in a series. We will be liaising with you, obviously, so please keep your eyes out for the following webinars that are coming. I think they're going to be monthly, which are going to be looking at quite detailed, how to put it, topics, themes, issues that are cropping up as this amazing work unfolds across the 16 member states that SADC represents. So I think that's a great place to stop, and I hope our main reason for doing this is to catalyze, how to put it, collaboration, partnership between yourselves and the kind of rest of the global health community. So please do get in touch with SADC, Max, Bora, and Misheck. I think I'd just like to say thank you very, very much, all three of you, for wonderful presentation, an excellent session. And we look forward to getting these assets out for you. Dr. Kim Colati has just put, thanks very much for the contacts. Very inspiring session. So there you go, guys. You're inspiring us. It's the truth. Thank you very much. All right. And I think that's a good place to stop. So goodbye from me. Goodbye from the ISNTD. And goodbye from everybody here.